Hello everyone. So this is my first YouTube video, and I know that a lot of YouTube videos are available online on the subject gardening, but still I want to show you that how I utilize these videos, did some research on these, and came out with my result. Yes, there were a lot of mistakes which I committed. The results were zero a number of times, but later on I gradually learned, and when I succeeded I thought ki why not to share it with all of you. So let's get started. So initially I was quite premature, you can say, how to start up with the seeds. I ordered my seeds online. I ordered the garden tray, and I ordered the fertilizer, the soil fertilizer, that is the dark black color soil fertilizer which is added to the soil. And the first mistake which I did not mix any kind of soil to this fertilizer. I directly added my seeds to this fertilizer in the garden tray, give them water every day, put them in the proper sunlight, but the result was zero. So my second option was, actually there was some kind of construction going on in front of my house. The road was getting constructed, and there was lot of soil, the earth which came out. So I just took this soil, the road soil, and I sowed my seeds into it and checked just to check whether they'll germinate or not. And the result was this: they did germinated, but the percentage of success was quite low. So in this picture you can see two trays. The below tray has black color, dark black colored of soil, that is the first fertilizer soil which I used, and the result was zero. And the second tray is the eggshell tray, where you can see that there are 12 holes, out of which the plants or the saplings are only coming out from 4 of them or 5 of them. So the result was quite very low, 40 to 50%. And basic reason could be that there was no nutrient in the soil and the drainage was not proper. So but I was happy, since this was the first plants which were coming out from the seeds which I had sown. And if you see the second picture, the same seeds I had sown in these bigger pots, and the results were there. I mean, the plant started to grow, but if you see, their growth was very not proper. They looked weak. And if you see these yellow tablets kind of thing, so these are the expired medicines which I added to these, just for the plants to get some nutrition, since the soil did not had any. And if you see the fourth pot, it is the pot where I was preparing this compost. But somehow, and if we go to this next picture, you can see that the plant had started growing, and some of them which had grown or had already died. So a fewer plants survived, and you can see that the soil is really hard, and the drainage does not looks proper. And looking at the soil itself, you can feel that how difficult will it be for the roots to move to different directions and get the nutritions. So this growth rate was very slow, but I was patient, and I kept watering and keeping them in the sunlight. I also tried adding the same fertilized soil which I purchased in the beginning of this getting into gardening. This I added that black soil, and maybe because of this the growth rate increased. But later, since 90% of the soil was a soil which I got from the roadside, and 10% was this, and due to certain carelessness, you can say, or since the soil was not good, after a month these plants started to die, and these eventually they died out. So this was really bad for me, since these were the first seeds, but still I didn't lose those hopes, and I kept on trying new things. I kept on researching over YouTubes and learning new things. Next thing, as you saw in my previous picture, that there was another pot where I was preparing this compost, and since I was not that patient that I would have waited for some 6 months or so to get this compost convert into complete soil, and then I get to have used it. I used this half compost and planted the seeds into it, but this half compost did not help and the seeds did not germinated. Okay, so the next thing which I tried was using this greenhouse effect method, where I used a plastic box in which on the top of the box, on the cover, I drilled down some holes for the air to pass through it, and I used a paper towel method. So in the paper towel method, I just if you see this, I put some seeds into the inner core of the paper towel, then covered it with the second layer and then moistened it up and put this paper towel into this box which had some holes in it. And if you see, the seeds started germinating, and I think they took 3 to 4 days only to germinate, and this is after 2 weeks that the saplings were around 2-inch tall. So I was really happy about this result. But when I transferred these seedlings into my pot which had soil, these died because my soil was not good. I used this half mixture of compost and half mixture of my roadside soil, and the soil was really not good. So I thought of doing something else. So this time I ordered the compost online, and I then mixed the roadside soil, 50% of compost and 50% of roadside soil, and then I put my seeds into the pot and covered that pot with a transparent polythene or a cellophane paper, and drilled and made some hole into punched some hole into this polythene so for the air to pass. And I made sure that the moisture was enough for the seeds for approximately 1 week. And in between, I used to check how many water droplets are there on the top of this polythene or the cellophane, so that I can make out when to give more water to it. Now, when the sapling started to grow out of it, I just removed this polythene and put this pot. I just put this pot into the proper sunlight area, and this is the result. So you can see the soil is. Yeah, so I was showing you this pot where I mixed 50% compost and 50% of the soil and covered it with a polythene to create a greenhouse effect, and this was the result. So if you see, the growth is good, the soil looks a lot better than what I showed you in the first picture, and the drainage of the soil also looks good. It is not hard, and it is kind of porous, and it is a mixture of compost and roadside soil, and hence the result is also better. So I hope these plants would survive more than the plants which survived initially, the calendula plants which survived initially. The third option which I choose, and which was a combination of first two options, and till date I find this as the best option, is like, so if you see, this is a plastic box where there is soil at the lower end, then there is this paper towel or the tissue where I added the seeds. I dampened this soil, means I just moistened it up. Then I laid this layer of tissue. I added some of the seeds, and then I covered with another layer of tissue, and then I moistened it up, the tissue as well. Then I covered this with this lid, and I had these two holes at the end for the air to pass on. And if you can see, yeah. So if you can see, there are tiny droplets on this the cover of this box, and these are like the water droplets which were created as the result of greenhouse effect. So it was a successful experiment, and this gave me the best result, because if I show you the inside of this box, you can see there are so many of them blooming up, right? And there are the roots also. The roots are comfortably going into the soil, and for this, the water which I used for this was like The water had around like 1 drop of NPK fertilizer. I just added it so that I wanted the roots to be strong. Yeah, I learned this as well from one of the YouTube videos. I am really thankful to my friends who are updating their videos on the YouTube so that the people can learn a lot from them and they can also do some successful gardening. And just the thing which I'm hoping now is that once these plant, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Actually, my memory just ran out. So I was talking about this pot where I mixed this soil, kept a tissue over that, put some seeds, covered it up with another tissue and watered it up with a drop of NPK fertilizer in that. Now the result is in front of you and it looks quite good. Now the only thing which I am thinking is like once these plants grow about 2 inches and I have to plant them into another pot, I think that should be okay, and I will do better than what I did with my plant which just grew into the tissue. Just wish me luck and subscribe to my channel, and I will come up with more mistakes and more improvement what I did into my gardening. So thank you for now. Bye bye.